Hello friends, myself Misal sir. Today we are going to discuss one of the simple, meaningful and heart-touching poem, that is Father Returning Home. Father Returning Home. Father Returning Home is the poem written by Dilip Chitre. First of all, we will seek the information about the poet. Dilip Chitre was born in 1938 and died in 2009. He was a celebrated bilingual poet and a translator with a remarkable work in Marathi and English. It means that Dilip Chitre had a deep knowledge about both languages. Therefore, he had translated many literary works into English. His versatile creativity extends to painting, filmmaking, and his notable contribution as a magazine columnist. Dilip Chitre was a critic, was a painter, a writer, and a filmmaker. And due to his contribution, he received the prestigious Sahitya Akademi Award both for poetry as well as for his well-known translation, says Tuka, popular Abhangas by Saint Tukaram. He had started translation of literary work of saints in Marathi at the age of 16. Exile means banish, alienation is isolation, self-disintegration and death are observed to be the major themes of his works. Now, in second paragraph, we will see the information about what the poet wants to share with his readers through this poem. Actually, this poem is taken from Traveling in a Cage. It draws a portrait of a suburban commuter. Commuter means those who travel regularly from one place to another, typically to work. It means passengers. It depicts his dull, monotonous, exhausting, and equally pitiable daily routine. It also describes a forced alienation at home, which is reflected through the stale food and lack of sharing. His children refuse to share their joys and sorrows with the hard-working father who, as a result, is forced to retire into solitude, means isolation. This very painful loneliness is a symbol of man's isolation from the materialistic man-made world. Now, first of all, I will read the poem, and you students Listen it carefully. Father returning home. The title. Father returning home. My father travels on the late evening train, standing among silent commuters in the yellow light. Suburbs slide past his unseeing eyes. His shirt and pants are soggy, and his black raincoat stained with mud, and his bag stuffed with books is falling apart. His eyes, dimmed by age, fade homeward through the humid monsoon night. Now I can see him getting off the train like a word dropped from a long sentence. He hurries across the length of the grey platform, crosses the railway line, enters the lane. His chappals are sticky with mud, but he hurries onward. Now we will discuss the paraphrase of the first stanza. Here the poet talks about his father. He says that my father travels on the late evening train. It means that the poem begins with the speaker's description of his father's traveling home. Standing among silent commuters in the yellow light. The father is traveling in a late evening train after finishing his work for the day. Here, late evening train. Here, late evening train may indicate how long the father works so that it regularly gets that late for him to return home. In second line, he says that standing among silent commuters in the yellow light. The father is standing among the silent commuters. Commuters means passengers in the yellow light inside the train compartment. This line also indicative of his suffering during the journey. After working so hard, he is returning home standing on the footboard. As he doesn't get a seat there to relax or sit. The silent commuters are not friendly. They are not ready to converse with the poet's father or among themselves. The yellow light is not the best thing either to promote any cheerfulness. All these things further intensify his agony and make the journey dull, monotonous, not interested to him. In third line, the poet says that suburbs slide past his unseeing eyes. The suburbs slide past his unseeing eyes. It means that the suburbs are sliding past of the morning train. But the poet's father has no intention to look at those. He is unmoved by these scenes because he has seen those scenes or these all the scenes many times and finds nothing new or interesting in it. Therefore, the poet's father is not interested to see the outside scenes of the train, or outside of the train. So that scenes also looks him monotonous. In fourth line, poet says, his shirt and pants are soggy, and his black raincoat stained with mud, and his bag stuffed with books is falling apart. Now the poet makes us know that it was a rainy day. His father's dresses are well wet with the rain. His black raincoat is damaged with mud. The bag he was carrying was stuffed with books, and he was struggling to handle it. So therefore these lines are again indicative of the difficulties of poet's father, which he has to face during in his journey. The black raincoat might indicate the lack of color in his dull life. Again, his bag full of books hints that he was an educated man. He was an educated man as well as a scholarly person. After it, he says further, his eyes dimmed by age fade homeward through the humid monsoon night. Now the poet gives us an impression of his father's age. His father's eyesight is dimmed by his old age. The father looks homeward with his low vision through the humid monsoon light. The gloomy atmosphere also adds to the dullness of his life. Later, the poet says, now I can see him getting off the train. Now I can see him getting off the train like a word dropped from a long sentence. The poet's father gets down from the train. Here Dilip Chitre has purposefully used a fine example of simile. Dilip Chitre compares his father to an unimportant word in a long sentence. This is quite unique. He says that his father gets down just like a word dropped from a long sentence. The poet indicates how unimportant his father is to the crowd in the train. It does not make any difference whether he got down or not. He is not that relevant to the rest of the world. Further, the poet says, he hurries across the length of grey platform, crosses the railway line, enters the lane. His chappals are sticky with mud, but he hurries onward. After getting off the train, the father hurries towards his home. He crosses the grey platform, the railway line, and finally enters or reaches the lane. His sticky with mud chappals, sticky with mud chappals can't prevent him hurrying onward to his father. Home again, I see him drinking weak tea, eating a stale chapati, reading a book. Home again, I see him drinking weak tea, eating a stale chapati, reading a book. In the second stanza, the poet depicts the isolation of his father in his own home. Means the poet's father is isolated in his own home. The poets tell that his father drinks weak tea. Weak tea means there is no taste to such a tea, or a tea which we take regular. The poet tells that his father drinks weak tea and eat a stale chapati. It means that here once again the poet gives hints to us how nobody cares for him, even at home. But his father does not have any complaint with his tea or chapati or food. And later, his father concentrate on reading book while having his tea. He has probably given up on expecting care from his family members also. Means above these lines, we come to know that Dilip Chitre described a very pitiable condition of his father, a very pitiable condition of commuters in the materialistic or man-made world. Thank you.